Great question. Back by popular demand, the board. A few weeks back, I broke down the components of what I believe the feminine energy experience to look like. If you haven't seen those videos, I'll just do a quick little recap. I broke it down into 4 main quadrants. The y-axis has the light and the shadow. The x-axis is comprised of unconscious and toxic to conscious and healthy. We discussed that the energy around the unconscious and toxic is fear, and that the energy around the conscious and healthy is love. We also discussed the energetic components of each quadrant. When the feminine is in their conscious light, they will be a source of creation, abundance, and life source. When the feminine is in their unconscious or toxic shadow, they will be a source of chaos, manipulation, and destruction. When the feminine is in their unconscious or toxic light, they will be in hyper-independence mode, aka creation by force, or I can do it all myself vibes. When the feminine is in their healthy or conscious shadow, they will be in the void, which will feel like grief, depression, loss. We also discussed that as we journey through consciousness, we are able to perceive our toxic behaviors. That our toxic nature does not cease to exist, but rather we are able to, through our journey of consciousness, observe our toxic nature instead of being ruled by it. We also discussed that this energetic experience is not static, nor is it linear, but that it may feel like that because we live in 3D. That though as humans we make markers for time in order to better understand it, we cannot comprehend its fullest reality. And anything beyond the 4th dimension gets into superstring theory, which is pretty heady, and we'll save that for another time. So because of our perception of life in 3D, I have broken down the feminine energy experience into 4 quadrants with linear progression. But that's not very true. The reality is that our energies are ever moving and ever present. We hold all of the qualities of these energetic experiences within us at all times. We are just more conscious of some during different moments in our life based on our limited perception of reality due to our living in the 3D. So the energy looks more like this. I am clearly not an artist, but this is supposed to represent the torus or the toroidal field of energy, which looks more like this. All energy exists within each of us at all times, even when we are not able to perceive them. So the reality is that we are always all in balance, because it is actually impossible for us to not be in balance. But because of our 3D experience, it might not feel that way at times. So, getting back to your main question, how do we come into balance within this 3D experience? I'll answer that in part 2. Alright, part 2 of how to find balance in the 3D. So as I explained in my last video, as humans we are limited to a 3D perception of reality. That we have markers for time in order to better understand it, but we cannot comprehend the fullest extent of its reality. So we are limited in space based on our perception of length, width, and depth. So what is the one thing that keeps us limited to that perception of reality? If you said the body, then you are right. So coming back to the board. As I explained in the last video, all of these energetic experiences live within us at all times, and they are not static or linear, but they are ever moving. We are just more conscious of some during different moments in our lives due to the 3D. But the energy actually looks more like this. So if we were to translate this board and put it in context of the energetic experience within the body, what would this central point represent? If you said the heart, then you would be right. The heart is the central source of power for the feminine. As it relates to the body, it is the central point where all energy flows from and returns to. The same energetic laws exist for the heart as it relates to emotion and spirituality as well. When there is a blockage of the energetic current that moves through the heart, that is when you will feel out of balance. And if all of this sounds vaguely familiar, that's because it is. I'm just barely dipping my toe into the chakra system as originally penned in the Vedic texts. If you want me to go more into the chakra system, just let me know in the comments below. We also do a deep dive into this in the Feminine Energy Collective. But you do not need to be an expert in the chakra systems in order to experience heart healing. Healing the heart begins with understanding what you are feeling and why you are feeling it. This is what people call mindfulness. But again, you do not need to be an expert in mindfulness in order to experience heart healing. I've mentioned this before on this page, but it's definitely worth saying again. When I first started my heart healing journey or my mindfulness journey, it felt completely impossible. Like, who has time to figure out how they feel at all times about everything? But it is possible. My coach at the time had me do this practice, and I recommend it to each of my clients to this day. Get a stack of Post-it notes and write on each one, how am I feeling right now? Put them all over your home, especially on places where you engage with unconscious behavior, like your computer, your phone, your TV, your refrigerator, cupboards. Every single time you see the Post-it note, take a pause and reflect, how am I feeling right now? This will likely feel a little overwhelming at first, but it will soon become second nature to you. And you'll begin to utilize this exercise not just in your home, but everywhere you go, within every relationship you have. This will help you begin to understand what is a value add and what shit needs to go.